Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel. This video is coming to you live from the heat wave in Switzerland. So I'm just in the office to film this video quick and then I go back out in the shade for working. It's unbearable in here, but let's get through this. It's time for a Q&A. This is the second to last video before the summer break, so I thought I'd make a Q&A, and then next week I finished not the season, but like the half season, before the summer break with like a roundup video. So today should have been a live Q&A, but I will not have time tonight, so I'm recording it in the form of a recorded Q&A. As always, if you would like to be included in the next one, which will be after the summer, somewhere in the autumn, make sure to ask your questions down below this video. This is where I see them most. I will definitely see them, yes, and if you ask questions on other videos, I will hopefully see them as well and include them here. I prepared a few questions here on my screen, so I will show them to you and read them off and then talk about them briefly. First question comes from La Denise86. She asks, "Hi Adrian, thanks for the video. You said that you mainly charge by the hour. What if a client says, oh, it took you 4 hours to do that, others managed to do it in 2? Now, good question. Hopefully this scenario doesn't really happen that often, because whenever I start a job, before I start a job, I will make sure that I have the PO, that everything is ordered correctly. I made a quote, I made an offer, and then we agreed it will take more or less 3 hours to do the job. So it should be agreed beforehand. Sometimes there are jobs where it's just simply not possible to agree beforehand, but then at least I make sure that the client knows, it will take me as much as it takes me. You have to be okay with that, right? I still try to offer some kind of ballpark. I usually say plus minus 10%, so I have some leeway, right? If I say it's going to take me 10 hours plus minus 10%, then it can take me somewhere between 9 and 11 hours. I think that's a fine leeway to give. And in rare cases, it happens that it takes me way longer than I anticipated. In that case, I usually ask the client, or I inform the client that it will take me longer, if that's okay. But since I already made a quote, I have to then accept if that's not okay, right? So there has been some cases where I then have to just, take the hit and work these 1-2 hours more unpaid, because I made the quote in the beginning. So make sure to always quote with caution. If you think it's going to take you 3 hours, maybe quote 3.5, 4 hours. And if they, after the quote, before the project, if they come back and say others quoted much less, you can break it down. You can exactly tell the client, look, it's going to take me this much to do this task, then this much to do this. This will add up to roughly 3, but to make sure I can review it in the end as well, I want to offer 3.5. If you want a premium output, a premium quality work, then this is what it takes me. If someone else does it for 2 hours, just be aware that they might not do all the steps correctly. The next one comes from Aeon SKX7907. Hello Adrian, thank you for another great video. I would like to use the opportunity to ask you a question about the current state of the industry. I've noticed that more and more agencies are turning to feeding AI instead of what is more traditional translating. Hope to hear your thoughts on this. That probably is true. I can't speak of experience. My clients luckily don't do that, but of course, the small agencies are feeling the pressure, right? So what do you mean by feeding AI? You probably mean they pre-translate using AI and then they give it to a translator to post-edit. That's definitely a workflow that is heavily used. I mean, post-editing has been used for the last 5, no, even more, close to 10 years, I would say, but now it's become a very common practice, and that is true. Yeah, if by state in the industry you mean that, definitely. I think the generalist translator will close to disappear, if not just become a post editor of AI content, definitely. Now in my circles and other specialized translators or language experts, this has not happened, and hopefully will not happen for quite some time, because if you have the subject matter expertise in very niche, very high quality, demanding sectors, then feeding AI is not the way to go, for a couple of reasons, copyright being one of them, but then also just it's not worth it. Like when I have to review a transcreation for the outdoor sports industry, this would first of all, will take me close to the same time as doing the transcription myself, and it will just not hit the same because you lose all the creativity if there is something already suggesting something for you on the screen. So if someone really values good copy, good quality texts, then they will stray away from that. So the state of the industry, luckily for me, it hasn't changed. It's the same as, I have very close relationships with my clients. I have good work. I have fun jobs to do. I manage to work mostly now in the sports industry, which is really fun. There are a lot of events this year that I'm involved in. For me, the state of the industry is good. In general, when you look at the LE survey, for example, a lot of translators are struggling. I think mostly generalists and mostly new graduates are struggling to find a way in because it's really hard now. I'm very happy and very lucky that I managed to establish my reputation beforehand, but every year I feel like every year that I'm doing this job, someone said, now is not the time to get in the industry. And I've been doing that now for over 10 years. So, and literally the year that I started, someone told me, you should not do that. This is not a good time. And if I listened to this person, that was actually a person that I looked up to at university. And if I listened to him, I would have gone into academia, which fair enough. At the time, I just really couldn't imagine. Now I could maybe imagine it, but I would do something completely different. And now I would not have had the past 10 years of my life in the way that I had it, right? So sometimes listen to your gut rather than listen to recommendations by experts, so-called. If you think you can make it, if you want to put all the effort, and let's say you give yourself 2-3 years to just put all the effort into it, and if it doesn't work, at least you tried. You can always do something else, it's not that serious. I know the job market is tough at the moment, but honestly, there's always something you can find. I feel like maybe not the dream job, but if it's about just paying the bills, I feel like there's always something to do. I would regret it if I didn't, give it a chance and start, and luckily it worked out. And this question kind of ties into another one. I'm just going to search for it quickly. Yeah, this one from AK Senare. I've graduated 6 months ago with a BA in Asian languages and cultures and started to get into the audiovisual translation field since then. Honestly, I'm constantly overthinking whether I should stick to what is my dream job or just surrender and find something else, which is still a big question mark since I wish for it to be language related. I wish there was more hope about it. I seem to not be actually able to find any, especially with the tons of translation agencies ignoring my applications. That's exactly the thing. Like, sending applications to agencies is not the best strategy at the moment because a lot of direct clients are going away from agencies because they think with the new AI workflows they can do it themselves. And that's a bit naive from their side maybe, but at the moment we are there, so the bubble has not burst, even though people start to realize all the flaws and all the problems it causes, but it's still a big hype around it. So a lot of direct clients are going away from agencies, which I understand, and I'm not surprised. I've always said in the past 3-4 years that I'm not a big believer in the agency model anymore. So I would not, send up. I mean, of course, you also have to send applications to agencies, right? That's not the one or the other, but I would not put my hope into that too much. I think there are other ways, more direct ways to find work, to start building a portfolio. I made a video about that relatively recently, a few years ago here. I think that's more relevant than ever because I think you have to almost make a name for yourself before you get hired, before you can gain experience. And that may sound a bit silly, but you don't really need, I always say, you don't really need paid work to build a proper portfolio and to put your name out there and to become known to other people. That's a side effect of the whole thing, right? Of course, you if you want to give advice, if you want to make videos like this, you should have certain amounts of experience. Otherwise, what is there to say? But there is other ways to put your name out there without the need of that, right? You can still create interesting content, create an interesting online marketing strategy, build a strong portfolio that showcases your skills. so people know you're out there, and you can also, volunteer work, reach out to clients directly rather than agencies, show them, look, I worked for this and this. You don't need to say it was a volunteer basis because you did the work, right? It's clear to see that you build a portfolio in that case, especially with audiovisual translation. There is so much content out there that you can work on without being paid as a volunteer basis, but that still is your portfolio, that's still experience. Especially AK scenario, if it's your dream job, I would not give up on it. That was the same case for me, right? I finished my translation studies. I went on to work in a translation agency. I then strayed away a bit from the strictly translation part. I wanted to go into more natural language processing and the computational aspects of it. But then I realized I want to at least try. I want to at least give it a try. And while I do my master's, why not just give it a try and see what happens? And it works. So if you feel like deep down, if you have the fire in you, if you feel like you will make it work despite all the struggles are there, but the struggles were there 10 years ago, right? It's not that different. I mean, a lot of negativity on LinkedIn, a lot of negativity everywhere, in every space, every conference you go to. But that's also because the positive people are too busy. I think, like I'm still very positive about this industry. I still think the language industry is a fantastic place to work in. There's so much opportunity. There's so much things you can do as well apart from translation. And it's just fun. Like, people are friendly, so I wouldn't want to be in another industry at the moment, let's put it that way. And I'm glad that I can do my part to promote this industry, to get people interested, get people hooked into it. And now in the next few months and years, hopefully some time will open up again for me, so I can travel again in Europe to conferences and speak at them and promote this great field of work. Because we need positive voices, and I'm trying my best with this channel, but we really need it. It's not all doom and gloom, not at all. I'm currently working on such cool projects. It's extremely fun, and I wouldn't miss it for a second. Let's look at some other, Mini 29001, kind of in the same realm. What should we write on our profile if we do not have any experience? By profile, you probably mean like LinkedIn and pros, etc. Write nothing about your experience. That doesn't matter, right? You put your experience in a LinkedIn profile anyway. If people want to see it, if they're curious, they will see it. But in your tagline, you just put what you want that to be. What you want that to be. It depends a bit who you want to target. If you plan to work with agencies, you probably put your language combinations and translator, English to German translator, in this field. If you want to work more with direct clients, if you want to be a bridge builder, kind of problem solver, you could write something like I help SaaS companies to sell more through engaging copy, something like that. There are a bunch of things you can do. Definitely don't mention your experience in the tagline. That's not needed. If people are interested, they will know soon enough. Chili Dog 47, love the name. I'd like to know more about your involvement with the Winter Olympics, if you're willing to share. I love the Olympics and I've always had a pipe dream of getting involved with them as a language professional. Sports is not one of my specializations currently, but I'm a huge figure skating fan and would love to put my knowledge to good use somehow. My languages are English, German and Russian. Can you share a little bit about how you got involved with the Olympics and how others can get their foot in the door? Great question. In Olympics was fun this year, and currently I'm working with the World Cup team, which is equally as fun. It's a bit tricky with the time zones, a lot of getting up early in the morning, but these events are amazing. And the Winter Olympics was rather a fluke. I was quite lucky. I was involved in the Youth Olympics first through an agency from Switzerland that I worked with. They had a very good relationship with. They were a specific, or they turned slowly into a specific sports agency, sports language agency, and I did a lot of sailing, motorsports, winter sports for them. And then suddenly they got the contract for the Youth Olympics, and because I was already a German sports translator for them, I was involved in the team. So that was how I got into it. And then having the Youth Olympics on my CV, it was rather easy to get into the big deal as well. And there I just reached out directly to the Olympic Committee. I asked, I had a contact there through the Youth Olympics. I asked who is in charge for the localization at the Olympics. I was put in charge. I said I have experience with the Youth Olympics. I would love to put my experience to work at the big guys and girls as well. And that's how I, not immediately after the Youth Olympics, but the year after, got involved, or the edition after. That's it. And through for the World Cup, I worked through different companies. Actually, every company wants to capitalize on the football hype. So I have a lot of campaigns going on about the World Cup with different companies. And then through one supply chain management company, I also work directly for content from FIFA. So from like player interviews and squad presentations and stuff. So that's been really fun. And then I'm on call for a few games that are sponsored by a brand that I work for. So for example, sometimes I have a shift from like 5 to 7 a.m. my time, and then that can be a bit tricky with sleep, but it's really fun, and you basically pay to watch TV. It's fun. Yep, hope that answers your question. Getting the foot in the door, you have to be lucky, right? That's not just something you if everyone could just do that would not work. They don't need that much involvement. But reach out to me on LinkedIn. Maybe we can get something going. Especially if you have figure skating expertise, that might be useful. So depending on your languages, let me know. Yeah, it was a lot about portfolios this week, to be honest. Theocracy8 asks, it would be helpful to see how a portfolio looks like and how to align translation samples from an experienced translator such as yourself. For us who just graduated from translation studies, this would be greatly appreciated. I understand there are many images online, but it is different when it's coming from an experienced translator. It's actually not a bad question, because all these portfolio examples online, I don't really like them. I would not use a template like that because they often just have a couple of pages. Here's the source text, here's the target text, here's the explanation of my decisions, and that's it. It's a very academic portfolio, I think a portfolio should be engaging and fun and actually real life examples. If you do subtitles, for example, have the video in there, or put a link to the video so people can actually watch it. If you have done slogans, transcreations, if you have done articles, just link them in there so people can scroll around and click different things. I don't think it should be just chunks of text under each other. That's not really fun. No one will read that. But if you have more engaging portfolios, especially if you work in audiovisual, like someone asked, Sheruk Mohammed asked, could you please explain to us how to make a subtitling portfolio? There, I would literally just create the subtitles for a video. You can always download the video and then burn them in and have them in a Dropbox folder or in a Google Drive folder, and let the clients click on it and watch the video with the subtitles. Or if you reach out to a creator, if you subtitle this video, for example, and they actually use it, they implement it on their end. If I put your subtitles on my video to watch it in Arabic, for example, then you can just send a link to this video and they can watch your work. And of course, it should be credited. If you work with me, it's always credited in the description. And that's what a nice portfolio looks like. It's engaging, it's fun, people can learn something next to it as well. I'm not a fan of just having a couple of pages of text. That's not telling me much. It's also not real life, right? A text on its own, without context, without embedded in its surroundings, it doesn't give me much. I want to see what's actually, what's world building around it. Hope that makes sense. There you go. A lot of questions about portfolios and, convincing clients that you are the one to work with. Obviously, that's a big part of our job, and I understand. And very important when you're still studying to work on that, definitely. So thanks so much to everyone who asked the question, and the next Q&A will be someone in autumn, so make sure to get your questions in over the summer if you have something. And if you need urgent answers, it's best to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thanks for watching. I see you next week. I hope you can stay in the shade this week. Take care. Bye bye.